good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending upon where you are. Thanks for joining, and topic for today is accelerate remediation by bridging various islands of security. With us today, we have Sri Subramaniam, who is a senior product manager at ServiceNow, and he will talk about Infoblox integration with ServiceNow, CMDB, and incident management. So here is the agenda for today. We will start with what are the security operational challenges. Then I'll talk about Infoblox ecosystem exchange, how we integrate with different vendors. Then there are two use cases with ServiceNow that we want to cover today. I'll cover the security use case, and then Sri will talk about CMDB and incident management integration. And then we will wrap it up with summary and next steps. So let's get started. So in today's world, so security is paramount these days, and there are so many security vendors out there, and all the organizations have thousands of tools, network and security tools to keep their environment up and running and keep the data secure. So enterprise today adopt a layered defense approach, which means which enhances security architecture, but essentially results in too many different tools and systems in their environment. So the results, because of that, it is difficult to identify the indicators of compromise due to constant overflow of the data, considering each and every tool has their own dashboard. Secondly, there is a lack of understanding on whether a security team should focus where security teams should focus their efforts and priority, considering there are so many different incidents generated by different tools. Third, security teams face a lack of qualified personnel and automation of security processes. And finally, there's a lack of centralized visibility and control from a single place. So considering there are thousands of products in the organization, it is difficult to get the consolidated view of all the incidents and all the devices and indicators of compromise that are present in the network. So because of this, we have a poor incident response. There are too many manual processes because all the devices don't work together. And because of this, there's a lack of prioritization and context, which is necessary to prioritize the threats, but because there's no context, it is difficult for the security admins to decide which threat has the higher priority. Now, currently there are silos between network team and a security team. So security and network operation team operate currently as a separate entities. Each has their own priority. The network team is focused on network availability, whereas the security team is focused on risk mitigation and they want to ensure that sensitive information doesn't leave the organization network. In terms of tools, security teams manage and maintain policies on multiple dedicated security products and tools such as firewall, endpoint proxies, whereas the network teams are focused on the network infrastructure. Even in terms of logging, both teams have independent logging systems that don't share information with one another. Network teams use network traffic logs, whereas security teams use Windows event logs, automatic logs, firewall and proxy logs, and so on. So all of this makes security and incident response effort unnecessarily difficult due to manual and inefficient processes, and at the same time, data sharing between them is between network and security tools is really difficult. So here is the quote from Gartner. So silos between network and security tools can restrict an organization's ability to prevent, detect, and respond to advanced attacks. So there is a need to integrate basically network tools and security tools so that they can share information with one another, and then security admins can get the priority or context on the prioritization threats which are detected by security tools. So cybercrime is growing in complexity and scale. So 600 billion. So according to one of the latest McAfee reports, $600 billion were lost to cybercrime last year. And so here are some of the additional stats. So average cost, the average cost of a corporate data breach has increased 15% in last 1 year to 3.5 million. Security incidents caused downtime of more than 8 hours for the 31% of the impacted organization. And each lost or stolen record containing sensitive and confidential data cost average of over $145. And current challenges are 56% of the organizations say that they are unlikely or highly unlikely that they would be able to detect a sophisticated attack. And 37% say that the real-time insight of cyber risk is not available. So based on that, attackers are getting better and faster ways they are finding the faster ways to infect the organization, and they're trying to get more and more information from the organization. So according to the ESG report on security operations, keeping up with the volume of security alerts and lack of integration between different security tools are the biggest challenges related to the security operations. And according to the same survey, investing in technologies to automate security operations, threat detection technology, and creating a security operations technology by integrating multiple tools are the top security operations priorities. And hence, organizations are investing heavily in automation and orchestration of incident response to improve the collaboration between security teams and IT teams so that they can keep up with the volume of security alerts, make the decisions on deciding priority of alerts, and then by doing all these, by integrating different tools, they can reduce the response time for the incidents. And so security is paramount, and enterprise try to so for this one, the Cisco, so breach response. So currently security teams cannot respond to incident fast enough, and breach response. So according to GDPR, so breach response must follow 72-hour notification timeline, and not all the organizations have the necessary tool to automate and correlate data from multiple platforms. And let's say in this case, customer A found that there was a lot of data to analyze and decide. So they decided to outsource the SOC operation because they couldn't analyze all the data. And customer B had a problem that they didn't know all the places in the network where they were using threat intel, and because of that, they failed to operationalize the threat detection and response team. So all these things lead to, first of all, poor security posture, because infected endpoints and devices are not isolated. And then there's a chance that if one device is affected, it will impact or it will infect the other devices in the organization. And then because of this, there's a risk that sensitive information might leave the organization. And then inefficient operations. So as I mentioned before, there are so many different security and network tools, and all of them generate their own incidents. But there is no easy way to integrate all of them together. So there is a lot of manual incident research, and then a lot of time is spent on manually correlating data from different tools. And because of this, it is difficult for SOC team to isolate the incident, and then it will take additional time to respond to the threats once the details of the threats are known. And finally, there's a lack of agility. So all the operations are manual, and then let's say even if there's a simple request to create an additional network, it has to go through the approval of multiple teams, because of which it takes lot of time to create the network or do some similar operations. So to overcome all these challenges, we have. So let's look at what's the ideal solution looking like. So first of all, we have increased SOC maturity, right? So there should be a way for different tools to exchange information between among them, so that once the information is getting exchanged between different tools, it is easy to automate the processes, and then this will allow the security admins to respond to the threats faster and reduce the response time. Then next is combine threat intelligence and context. So right now, if all the tools are working together, so if you can, the customers or the SOC team can get additional details or the context necessary to prioritize the threats, right? So this will allow them to respond to the threats faster. Next is better agility. So integration with wide range of networking and security tools will allow SOC and NOC team to automate the workflows and then respond to the threats faster. And because of this, they are better agile and better prepared for the unexpected request or unexpected or attack from the bad actors. And then finally, single pane of glass visibility. So as I said before, there are a lot of tools in the environment, but all of them don't work together, and all of them have their own dashboard. So if all of them are working together, then SOC and NOC team can get centralized visibility onto all the network devices and infected hosts and indicators of compromise that are present in the organization. And if they can get this visibility across on-prem, virtual, and cloud environment, then it will allow them to respond to threats. And once they see everything, they can they can automate the processes, and then they can respond to threats or network changes requests faster. So here is what Infoblox ecosystem exchange looks like. So basically, it provides the next level security, agility, and automation. So it eliminates, first of all, it will eliminate the silos by allowing different tools to work together. So it will allow customers to respond to threats faster. And then the Infoblox also provides the inbound and outbound API, so that it is easy for customers to connect different tools. And we also provide sticks and taxi data format, so that different tools can be integrated together. And this will allow customers to get centralized visibility into public and hybrid environment, and it will also allow them to get or automate the process in such a way that they can so near real-time action based on the request or the detected threat is possible once the process is automated. So all these things basically will allow security and network security admins to respond to the threats faster, and ultimately it will improve the ROI for the IT and security investments which SOC and NOC team has made. And so they will still continue to use the same tools, but it will by making sure that different devices are working together, it will allow customers to improve the ROI for the investments that are already made. So this diagram represents the Infoblox ecosystem exchange. So basically, Infoblox stores data about devices and devices connected to the customer's virtual and physical network. This data can be shared along with the context to other security systems and tools Infoblox has integrated with. So grid members exchange DNS related threat intelligence with Active Trust tied, and integrate with various private and public cloud vendors to enable network automation and visibility. So some of these vendors include VMware, OpenStack, Microsoft, AWS. So on top of all the network vendors, we also integrate with different security vendors categories such as SIM, vulnerability management, network access control, firewall. So all these things. So Grid will be responsible for exchanging data between different tools. And so all these things will allow customers to share context between different tools, and then ultimately it will provide them the centralized visibility into all the incidents or all the hosts that are present in the network. And then if the threat is detected, when the data is exchanged between different when the DNS, DDI data is exchanged or sent or exchanged between Infoblox Grid and security tools, it will allow them to automate the processes and respond to threats faster. So as I mentioned before, on the security, so Infoblox is a leader in DDI space. So DDI stands for DNS, DHCP, and IP address management. So on the security side, we have different integrations. We have integrations with firewalls, SIM devices, vulnerability management, NAC solution, then endpoint security, web gateway, and then ITSM and ITOM. So now let's jump to the ServiceNow integration. So in last couple of months or last 6 months, we have added several integrations with ServiceNow, and they all fall into ITSM, ITOM, and security operations. So first, let's talk about the security integration with ServiceNow. So in this case, ServiceNow receives information on new devices and infected hosts from Infoblox using outbound API. So if the suspicious DNS activity is detected, Infoblox opens a new record in a security incident response application within ServiceNow security operations to know and this will notify the security analyst about the potentially compromised devices and infected hosts that are detected by Infoblox. Now, using ServiceNow, security admins or a SOC team can view and manage the devices, incidents, and indicators of compromise that were discovered by Infoblox. So how does that benefit customers? So first of all, it provides the single pane of glass visibility into infected hosts. So integration between Infoblox and ServiceNow security operation provides visibility into potentially compromised hosts and infected devices. Secondly, it provides notification about the DNS threat. So whenever Infoblox detects a potential DNS threat, it notifies ServiceNow security operations, and it will allow security admins to quickly respond to threats. And finally, it will allow customers or a SOC team to respond to threats faster. So whenever ServiceNow receives the latest information on incidents, then it will enable them to respond to DNS security events and threats faster, and this will enable the next level efficiency for security operational team. So, and finally, so this integration is currently supported by Infoblox community. So to know more about this particular integration, we have a joint solution brief with ServiceNow, and during the follow-up email, we will be sharing more details about this integration. And next, we have the second use case, Infoblox integration with ServiceNow CMDB and incident management, and Sri will be covering this section. So Sri.
Hey, hi guys. My name is Sri, product manager for CMDB Discovery. Again, thank you, Chintan. ServiceNow platform has become a de facto standard when it comes to the core IT use cases. So we have several products within the platform, but some of the post-the-chat products like ITSM, ITOM, IT Business Management, all the different products running within the platform really enables value for our customers. And also the main connecting glue when it comes to the key core use cases is like the ITSM incident process management, or the ITOM is responsible for clearly looking at the CMDB discovery, service mapping, and also collecting all the events, correlating data, and providing an health dimension for all your critical services. Also, we have a cloud management product which clearly augments the day one, day two operations on the cloud side of business. So the platform is again widely adopted by many G2K customers. It is the backbone now for majority of ITs. And it is the connecting glue between the data and workflow automation. And when we say about the core components, like we have other practices which heavily use ServiceNow platform, like HR is a non-IT group. We have CSM, which is customer service management. And also we have security, which is again the core topic of today, where you just saw that the number of security threats are increasing and you need a connecting platform. And our platform can connect majority of your security products in the space. And we have a security incident response product and a vulnerability response product, which can augment your use cases well enough. So with respect to ITOM, we have three important pillars. And I wanted to clearly highlight what we do here, how we help our customers, what are the pain points we try to address with our product solutions. The first pillar we have is the visibility pillar. So as I say, like ITOM is all about managing your core IT infrastructure, and it is important to start with your visibility. So it means we need to have end-to-end visibility to whatever infrastructure, application, dependencies you have within your enterprise. And we have a discovery product which can help to discover all your core infrastructure, application dependencies, and also it can map business dependencies with the service mapping product. So gaining that visibility is again the hardcore responsibility for this group. The second one is all about health. Now we have discovered all the IT infrastructure, but now I need visibility to their health dimension. I want to understand whether my applications are healthy, infrastructure are healthy. You have already multiple monitoring solutions in your ecosystem, which are doing excellent monitoring. All we have to do is like ingest the events into ServiceNow, thereby providing single pane of glass visibility to the health of all your IT infrastructure, applications, and also showing all the visibility of dependencies. And then we have an optimization pillar. As I said, we have a cloud management product where we can provide consumerized portal experience for customers to go and request for cloud and gain visibility to your cloud cost and pricing and also your billing aspects. So we talked about the connecting glue, right? So that's exactly what CMDB does. CMDB stands for Configuration Management Database. Today, ServiceNow CMDB, it is the connecting glue between the data and the workflow automation. And when we talk about data, we have ability to ingest data from our own discovery solutions. But pretty much if you take any enterprise, you have multiple discovery products. And we see Infoblox as a great partner here in action who can provide a lot of good insights from Infoblox can be ingested into CMDB. And one such use case is like the IP address management, because Infoblox has become a de facto standard in the IPAM space. Any IP address segments which you are in planning, which you are trying to manage, it goes to Infoblox. You can grab all the IP address ranges populate to CMDB, which then can be used to buy the discovery product to go and trigger discovery on demand based on the agentless credentials. A very nice automation which can really be very powerful for customers to get benefit from the couple of weeks of implementation. But when we have data in CMDB, right, obviously we have to look at from the consumers of this data. And within CMDB, we have many consumers like incident management, where if you have an incident record, you would like to understand what is the CI all about. I want to know information about this compute or network or storage or application. The dependency view will provide that holistic topology data which is available within CMDB. And then we have change management, which is again the poster child of ServiceNow platform. You are making a change to an infrastructure or an application or an serverless compute. You need visibility to the impact of how this is going to be impacted based on the application dependency. Who is the application owner? When is the change being planned? And you need to understand whether is there any other change conflicts and so on. So all the critical change management use cases will require near real-time CMDB. And ServiceNow CMDB, because we have very powerful integrations with core players in the space, we provide that kind of visibility. And then we have problem management and so on. And I'll also talk about three other niche use cases. Like ITOM is one such use case where the event management today directly use CMDB data for the CI correlation. When the alerts from your monitoring tools land in ServiceNow platform, we would like to understand what is the impact, and the only way to assess impact is by correlating the CIs and the CMDB with the alerts coming into the ecosystem. And the core topic of today is SecOps, right? So within ServiceNow, we have incident response, and also we have vulnerability response, two main products. For these products, it is imperative to, again, directly work with the CMDB data. A good example is vulnerability response, right? Like where you have all this different installed software data that's coming into ServiceNow ecosystem, and then you would like to understand what is my risk score, and you'd also like to understand how you can correlate this risk score with the service perspective, with the critical business services, which has been already mapped by the ITOM business unit. So this kind of critical use cases can be addressed by SecOps, but underlying data is within the CMDB. And the last use case I would highlight is the asset management use case, where we have hardware asset management, software asset management. It is imperative to get all the critical hardware assets and software assets into CMDB. Thereby, we can deliver asset management use cases as well. And as I said, like there are two kinds of discovery solutions we provide in the market. Basically, if you take any of your infrastructure, we have a holistic view of all different infrastructure. Many of these discovery tools can provide the layer on the first side, which I showed you, right? It can give you a very basic inventory management system where you can detect all the different servers, databases, applications, web servers, and load balancers, and so on. But it is imperative to understand the application dependency. So if you look at our solution, we have ability to understand the traffic, and we can provide an application dependency view, which can provide this topology dependencies between the infrastructure component. And basically, our discovery product runs in 4 phases, where we scan for an IP range. It's an agentless discovery product which will use agentless credentials like WMI, PowerShell, SSH to log into the remote devices, collect all the critical data. It will classify, identify them, and then it also runs a spiral discovery where you can run explorations, whether like, hey, is Oracle database running on a server? If yes, can I go and collect Oracle options, which can be used by the software asset management team and so on. So the discovery is very, very in-depth, and it is actually augmenting all the use cases required within the ServiceNow platform. But the next big thing, what we do very well in the market is service mapping. Because as you can see, CMDB is becoming the central anchor point for data. It is imperative to have inventory data. It is also good to have dependency data, but it is a must-have if you can really correlate the application dependency and provide a service context to the data. And that's exactly the place where we are standing out in the competition. The service mapping product with a single entry point will be able to easily decode the application dependency between the infrastructure and applications, and then it provides a holistic view from an entry point. And all those different use cases which we talked about, right? It can be run with agentless protocols, like we support direct API integrations with major cloud providers. With a service account, you would be able to grab all the critical elements, like even for instance, if you wanted to discover S3 buckets or Lambda functions, and again identify the dependencies between your serverless compute and the S3 buckets. These data are valuable for IT ops, and we help customers to collect this data with all the agentless credentials using a component called mid-server, which sits inside your environment, and that will then transmit the data to CMDB. So this is our discovery product. But now, when we think about how we can automate some of this niche discovery use cases, there are two things which are required when you start a discovery project. You need credentials, and if you think about credentials, like these are all the credentials which I talked about, like where WMI, SSH, PowerShell. You need to have those credential base where this can be applied on a discovered IP address, and then the classification and exploration can give you more details about these devices. So that's on one side, right? But on the other side of the equation, where you need IP address ranges, the IP ranges becomes the foundational fundamental requirement for running any discovery product. And here with the Infoblox partnership, now we can gather all the IP address segments which is being configured in your Infoblox directly into ServiceNow CMDB tables, and that can then be used by the discovery jobs to go and trigger discovery or configure discovery. It seamlessly helps discovery administrators to run their discovery projects at scale. And we were talking to one of the customers, joint customers, where they had Infoblox and ServiceNow discovery product, but still the idea came from that customer where they said, as a discovery admin, I'm not getting any visibility to the future IP address ranges, because it is imperative to plan how much mid-server is required, where to position that mid-server. So this kind of IP segmentation planning is all happening with your IPAM solution like Infoblox. And as a discovery admin, now with this integration, I would be able to gather all those critical planned IP ranges into the system. And then I can clearly augment around the capacity planning for the mid-servers. I can clearly plan around how to position the mid-server, whether the current existing mid-server can handle the load, or should I go and provision brand new mid-servers which can go and collect all critical details for the discovery. And this is a place like where the current integration from Infoblox is a game changer for customers. It is a very simple JSON file integration, which will allow you to map data elements between Infoblox and ServiceNow. And that will also help you to send critical data from Infoblox to ServiceNow, so that ServiceNow, again, can be used as a layer of management. It can be used as a layer of automation and orchestration. So that, and thereby, once you have the data in the ServiceNow, then we can help to consume this data for all the different consumers, whoever who wanted to use for their own use cases. A very powerful integration that's coming up, and I encourage all customers to try this integration from Infoblox and let us know how this is going to really change your daily life. And now, Chintan, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sri. That was a great explanation, and you covered it in great detail. So now, just to wrap up, so let's just summarize what we discussed. So the main problems that customers are facing today is lack of centralized visibility. There are silos, and because of large volume of data, large volume of incidents, it is difficult for them to decide which one to focus on, and there's a lack of context, which because of which they have difficulty deciding the priority of the incidents and threats. So with ServiceNow integration, with integration between ServiceNow and Infoblox, you will get a single pane of glass visibility into all the network changes and infected hosts, so you can automate the processes, and this will allow you to respond to the threats faster. And then even if there's a network issue encountered, you will have that information in the ServiceNow UI, and it will allow you to respond to network changes quickly. So that's the main summary, or that's the main advantage of Infoblox ServiceNow integration. So if you would like to know more about our integrations, not just with ServiceNow but other vendors also, you can go to our website, and you can also go on our community website. More recently, we have introduced a DNS risk assessment, so you can enter information about your organization and some basic information, and that will allow you to assess whether the organization, how high the risk of getting attacked by DNS, what is the risk of your organization of getting attacked by DNS. So using this tool, you can get some DNS risk assessment. And finally, if you would like to know more about this Infoblox ServiceNow integration, so we have a next session on November 13th. So Kevin Zettel, he's a technical marketing engineer at Infoblox. He will be doing deeper dive into Infoblox ServiceNow integration. And during the follow-up email, we will be providing you with the link. So whoever is interested in knowing more about the integration, specifically at the technical level, I would encourage everyone to join this webinar. So yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for joining, and Navneet, back to you.
Yes, a great webinar. Thank you, both Sri and Chintan. And now we'll move on to our question and answer portion. I have also sent out the registration URL for our November 13th webinar. So if you look in your Q&A window, you're just go ahead and click on that, and it will automatically take you to the registration page. So I'm just going to read off the questions that we have come in. So we have one that the first one is it possible to configure the integration between Infoblox and ServiceNow?
Yes, I can take that question. The answer is yes, because the integration setup, all it needs is an JSON format. And within the JSON format, you can completely configure exactly what attributes and fields you wanted to map between Infoblox and ServiceNow. Then it uses a typical REST API call, which is already exposed from ServiceNow to do the data ingestion and updates.
Okay, thank you, Shri. Another one, it does integrations uses transform map from ServiceNow. I guess that's also for you, Shri.
Sure, yeah. So there are two ways to do data ingestion into CMDB. So today ServiceNow offers REST API sets which provides real-time data insertion and updates. And Infoblox is using the real-time approach of sending data from Infoblox to ServiceNow using a very simple mapping. And the mapping is again configured with JSON format. But the second approach is a transform map, and Infoblox integration is not using transform maps. The transform map approach is basically sending data to a staging table in ServiceNow, and then from the staging table, transform map can move data into the production data sets. So today the integration is completely based on REST API. It's real time and not based on transform map.
Okay, thank you. Another question, it is how easy it is to integrate tools with Infoblox. It's a two-part question, and another one, it's what are the different data formats used for integration?
Sure, I can take that one. So so we already provide the outbound API, which will allow customers or partners to easily integrate with different security and network vendors. And other than API, we also support sticks and taxi format, which will allow customers to integrate with Infoblox. In fact, so we have over 50 integration with different security and network vendors, and many of them, in fact, are created by our partners, not by us. So even though they might be supported by us either via community or via our support team, but many of the integrations are built by the partners using our outbound API as well as, and for data passage, they either use text or taxi format, or in case of ServiceNow, we have used JSON. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We do have one that was answered by Shri, but I think it'll be better if we just verbally also answer it. It's do we have REST API call to feed ServiceNow CMDB by fetching device inventory at MRI inventory reports?
Yeah, absolutely. So today in ServiceNow, when you look at CMDB, it is all about CI classes and its relationship. And there are two ways to get inventory reports out of CMDB. The first way is we have a product called CMDB Query Builder, which is already available within the product. And with the Query Builder, you can go and grab all the CI classes, create a simple topology query, and then collect the data out of this query, which is again going to be very helpful because of all the topology relationships. But the next way is to directly use the REST APIs. And we have CMDB Instance API, which can help you to do data insertions. And there are table APIs available, which can go and help you to grab any data from any ServiceNow table. So these APIs are documented very well in docs.servicenow.com. So please try it out and let us know how we can help.
Okay, thank you. Another question, are integrations built by Infoblox or partners, and who supports the integrations? And before Chintan, you answer, I just wanted to encourage everyone, if you guys have any more questions, please submit them through the Q&A window so we can get them answered. Thanks.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we have the outbound API. So some of the integrations are built by partners directly using our APIs. Some of the integrations are built internally at Infoblox, and even some of the integrations are built by when both Infoblox and partner work together. So it varies from integration to integration. Again, the same thing with support. So some of the integrations are supported by partners, some by Infoblox, or it is either supported by Infoblox support team, or it can be based on community Infoblox community forum. So again, it varies from integration to integration.
Okay, great. And we're getting a couple more questions. Another one is DDoS mitigation part of your offering?
So for DDoS protection, we have a different product called ADP. It's called Advanced DNS Protection. So ADP will provide protection against both volumetric attacks as well as exploits. So ADP is part of the Infoblox offering, but it is not part of the ecosystem. So ADP is available both in the hardware version. So every time, let's say if you have a new version of ADP, you have to upgrade the hardware, but we also recently introduced a software ADP in which once you have the machine, every time if there is a new version, all you have to do is upgrade the software on top of hardware, and then you will get the new version. So every time you won't have to upgrade the hardware. So yes, ADP is supported by Infoblox ADP product, but that is not part of an ecosystem solution. That is a completely different solution.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Another one, I cannot see the whole thing, but if you're able to go into Q&A, it's from Dean. It's about who can help on REST API call. That's all I'm able to see. If you can just read out the question.
I can help on the REST API call based on previous question.
So the REST APIs from ServiceNow, like if that's a question, it's all available via REST API Explorer. So if you log into your ServiceNow, just search for REST API Explorer, and then you will see a segment called Instance API. So when you can just go and try those APIs, it's pretty straightforward ones. There are documentations available. There are like several links available. So at the end of the session, maybe we can share our email IDs and you can reach out to us and we'll be able to assist you with those API calls.
Yep, same for Infoblox. So if you were referring to REST API for Infoblox, all the information is available on the website. At the end of the call, we can reach out to you. So if you have any further questions, we already have videos on the YouTube as well as all the information on the website as well as community website. But if we have the information, we can, after the call, we can provide the links for the further documentation.
Okay, great. Thank you. It seems like we are at the end. We have no more questions. And so I just want to thank everyone on behalf of Infoblox and our presenters. Thank you all for joining us today, and you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.